All right, Stefan, welcome to the show. Tell us about your background and how you got started as an author.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, my background, man, goes back so long ago. I was broke and struggling, living in my friend's living room, trying to first find ways to make money online, and because I had learned about this internet marketing thing, the passive income thing, the whole thing, the 4-hour work week from Tim Ferriss and everything. So I was really excited. Just about the possibility of that. And I just started off just looking online out of desperation, trying to find different ways to make money online. I eventually came across ebook publishing. And back then, this is before Amazon and Kindle, or at least Kindle was around. And I had written different ebooks in different niches and markets, and I created a website for it, learned how to do copywriting, and just learned everything involved with selling information products online. Had a bit of success with that, and then when Kindle publishing came around, I decided to publish those books that I had on Kindle. Had even more success doing that, and just realized that Amazon provided just a really amazing platform for authors, publishers, marketers to publish their work, and then tap into the millions of people that go to Amazon every day just searching for books, ebooks, and that just took off for me. And then once I discovered that and just kind of got over that hump, that barrier of making money online, then just everything took off for me. And I just eventually was able to scale up a business and publish more books on Kindle. I even went in a bit of a different direction, and I learned, I also wrote some of my books, but I also hired different writers to write books for me in different niches and markets. Had a lot of success doing that as well. And then eventually, after doing that for about 2 to 3 years, I created a course called K-Money Mastery, which teaches people step by step exactly how to publish on Kindle and make money doing it. So, and that's been really successful since.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I know you've had a lot of success, and just before we started the interview, we were talking about your different businesses and all the different projects you're working on, which is really cool to see. And I mean, I think that's one of the things with like creative people is that we want to do more than one thing. Most people who want to write a book, it's like, the book is one thing they want to do, but they probably want to, travel the world, and they want to, teach people about, what a charity or something they're passionate about. Like, so, I mean, how have you kind of harnessed that creative energy and actually turned it into something that makes you money and stayed focused enough long enough to make it work, as opposed to getting so distracted and frazzled that you're not really being productive and getting things done?
Yeah, and I think that was a mistake that I made when I first started. And I think a lot of people make that mistake, is they just focus on too many things at once. And for me, I was doing that, and it's a challenge in the internet because there's so many different products, courses, opportunities that come your way. And almost in many ways, the less you know, the better. Like I've taught Kindle publishing and that to my girlfriends and certain friends of mine that they don't know all this other internet stuff. They just know that one thing. And they've been able to have more success than other friends that I know that know all these other things because they're so distracted by all these opportunities that are out there. And so I've always believed success is focusing on one thing and kind of just focusing on that one thing until completion. And you've got to give it a fair chance for 3 to 6 months. And especially at the beginning of anything, typically it'll be a little bit slow. You're going through a learning curve, you're going through the process, and then once you've got that down, you get results from it. So that's always been my attitude, and that's still what I do now. I set goals for the entire year, and I have a lot of projects and things that I'm focused on and working on. But I still focus on, like, I map out my year in advance of all the projects, courses that I want to launch, but I usually just pick one thing, focus on it. That's my main thing that I'm working on. Then once that's completed and automated, then I can move on to the next project. And another thing that's allowed me to harness that creativity and manage different things has been building a team. And I realized, there's only so much you can do by yourself. And that was my challenge at the beginning as well. I was just doing everything on my own. But once you get to a certain point where you want to have multiple businesses and projects, then you need to bring on a team. You need to find ways to automate, systematize, leverage yourself, whether that be through virtual assistants or software or technology or whatever it might be. That allows you to free up your time, which is the most valuable asset and resource that you have, so that you can be more the strategist rather than the person that's almost like you're, a soccer team or something like that. Instead of being the player or even the coach, you want to be like the manager or even the owner. and just kind of manage things from up above.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, there's a point where your limit can only get your success can only get so high before you have to bring on a team to really help you get to the next level. But I also know that way before you even had a team, like you're just a super productive, creative person. And actually, the first time I ever met you was actually on YouTube. You have this video called like an hour of power or something like that. But you were basically sharing like the strategy you use every time you wake up in the morning, what you do for that first hour to get you in a positive state for the day so you can be really, really productive. So let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people listening, they're solo entrepreneurs, they're solo authors, they don't have the team yet, but they really want to get results, and they might have a full-time job, they might be really busy. So what do you do to make sure that if you only have a couple hours to work on something, that you're super productive and you're getting the most important things done?
Yeah, it's great. The video you're referring to is my morning ritual video. I've actually published another one since, but my original one that I published back in 2012 has got over 550,000 views. So it's pretty crazy. It's basically, the concept. There's a few things I do to help make sure that I'm productive. First is the morning ritual, and I have the belief that how you start the day is how you end the day. I learned that from Evan Pagan, and basically just giving the most scarce, again, resource that you have, which is your time, to yourself first thing in the morning. The more that you take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically, the more you're going to be able to give, the more you're going to be able to do. So just taking that first amount of time in the morning, whether it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, depending if you want to exercise or not, but just taking that time just to make sure that you're on physically, you're taking care of your health, your body, your energy, because the more energy that you have, the more that you're operating physically, the more productive you're going to be throughout the day as well. And even just emotionally and mentally as well. So I like to maybe read in the morning, or maybe just kind of thinking about what I'm grateful for, or what my goals are, or what I'm happy about in my life. Just by putting me in a more powerful, empowering state, I'm going to be more productive as well. Because typically, our behaviors come from our state. When you're in a great state, when you're confident, and you have certainty, you're more likely to follow through. So that's been a ritual that I've had for years now, just every day in the morning, just putting myself in a peak state, and through some sort of ritual. And I even do that before I coach people, before I create a video, before there's a big project or task that I want to do, even if I'm going to write a book. In order for me to execute and just be to have that creativity flow and write a great book, I want to make sure that I'm in a creative state. I want to make sure that I'm in an empowered state where everything is going to flow out of me. Just like if you're going to give a presentation or a speech or something like that, if you're in a great state beforehand, then you're more likely it's going to flow out of you. If you're not in a great state, then you're going to be a loss of words, you're going to stumble around, and it's just not going to come across that well. So even for me, like I have rituals throughout the day that allow me to be more productive and focused, just putting myself in a great state. I've got like a little trampoline or rebounder that I'll jump up and down on, or I might go for a walk, or I might watch inspirational videos, or listen to some music, or pump myself up, or just focus on what my outcome is, or just focus on, why is this important? Why do I care about these people? Why do I want to make a difference? And that helps put me in a really incredible state so that I can deliver and be productive. Other things that I've learned is managing your time. Time management is so important, and developing a system for managing your time is crucial. So I like to plan out my weeks in advance so that I know exactly what days I'm doing what. So for example, Monday, I might plan certain coaching sessions that I have, or I might plan to record some content or some videos, or I might plan to do interviews, or I might plan to, write a book or whatever it is. And then Tuesday I've got planned out, mapped out hour by hour what's involved that day. And I've got it planned the entire week. I even have planned when I'm going to work out during the week. I plan when I'm going to spend time with my friends or my girlfriend or with family members. And so when you just kind of plan out and you're proactive in that kind of way, then you're not reacting as much. Because I found a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this as well, is you just kind of start the day, you don't really have a plan for that day, and you just kind of react to whatever comes up. The phone rings, emails come in, Facebook messages, all the demands of everyone else, and then you just get distracted, and then you didn't get done what you wanted to get done that day. So for me, it's been proactively planning and following a step-by-step schedule And then one more tip I'll give as well is using a timer. And so if I'm going to focus on a task, let's say writing or I don't know, recording a video or whatever it might be, I'll use a timer. I'll set a certain amount of time that I'm going to focus on that task. So maybe it's 50 minutes or an hour, but I'll set that timer, and I found that by having that timer, it creates a little bit more urgency, and it just kind of forces me to focus on that task and get it done. And then usually, like, I might, after that hour, if it's not done yet or not perfect, I'll just do the best I can, because I think that we're a perfectionist a little bit too much, where we just spend a little bit too much time on certain things trying to make it perfect. But if I have a set time, I'll say, you know what, I'm just going to get as much done on this as I can in this hour, and then from there, then that's it. I'm not going to work on it any further. Then that's allowed me to try to kind of get over that whole perfectionism mindset and just kind of get things done.
Yeah, that's some great tips you shared for sure. So I want to go back and talk about that. Your first tip you just mentioned was emotional state,
Yeah.
and I found that to be hugely crucial for my own success as well. Like if I'm sitting down writing a book and it's not working well, I'm not feeling like I'm in the right state. I just go get up, I walk outside, take a 5-minute walk, look at the sun, breathe some fresh air, and get in a different emotional state, and then go back in and get back to work. But if you just try to sit there and you're not feeling good or you're not feeling energetic, it's just basically a big waste of time. Like you might as well go do something else and then come back to it when you're in a better state.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. And it's just that little shift of just being in a different state. Things just come out of you totally different. And if you're just sitting there, just trying to force it or whatever, then it's just not an effective use of your time. You're just going to be wasting time doing that. So yeah, if you change your approach a little bit, you take a step back, you go for a walk, you call a friend, maybe you do something else. I've sometimes done this as well. As if it's writing, then I'll I can't get myself to do it, then I'll go and do something else, and then I get some momentum, and then when I come back to that, it's just that much easier because now I'm in a totally different state. So yeah, state is so important. I learned about this mainly from Tony Robbins. He has different ways of changing your state. He says that first is how you use your body affects how you feel, your physiology. And so if you change your breathing, if you change the way you stand, the way you move, your facial expressions, your posture, that biochemically changes how you feel. And so that's why things like exercising, going for a walk, jumping up and down, just making funny faces, putting on some music and dancing, those are great ways to put yourself in a more powerful state. And he also says what you focus on is what you feel. So changing your focus as well. For me, all throughout the day, I'm usually focused on what I'm grateful for, what I'm happy about, what I'm proud of, what I'm excited for, what's my outcome today, what are my goals, how can I leverage myself. He says that what controls your focus is questions. So when you ask different questions, then it changes your focus, but changes how you feel. And so I found that just by learning how to change my state, control how I feel my state, I can be more productive and just utilize my emotions so that I can focus my energy and take the right actions towards achieving my goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Just last night I was watching a documentary called Please Subscribe, and it was about really successful people on YouTube who created these viral videos and these entire channels on YouTube and are now earning a full-time income on YouTube through advertising.
It was on Netflix, right?
Huh?
Is that on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a really cool documentary. But one of the things that really struck me from watching the documentary was like that the people that do these shows and are really ultra successful, generally the people that just like they love what they do, and they really want to make great videos, but they don't, like you said, they don't obsess over every single detail. They don't they don't wait till a week from now or a month from now to launch the video. They give themselves a day. They have one day to create that video, to edit that video, to process that video, and publish it. That's all they get. And I think having that kind of like laser focus on, okay, today we're going to get this done is really, really powerful. And I think, as an author, if you're writing a 300, 400-page novel, like you can't get it done in a day. But I think still having those daily goals and being in the right state for that day and saying, okay, today I'm committed to getting this thing done. And whether it's just one chapter in your book, it's fine. But as long as you commit to getting one thing done, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, I agree, and definitely like if you've got a big task like that, just kind of breaking it down into smaller tasks. But then when you have this monumental, ginormous task, then you often procrastinate on it. I remember my first book that I wrote years ago was a dating book because I was a dating coach at the time and everything, and I found that it actually didn't take me that long to actually write the book. What took long, because it took me like over a year to write it, but really most of the time was just procrastinating on it. It was just kind of putting it off, and it's just because it was just in my mind, writing a book was just this big thing. And I think you've got to change the way you look at it. Maybe just look at it as each chapter, step by step, and each week you're going to focus on that chapter. So just kind of changing the way you chunk things, or kind of the goals you have. You don't have to complete the whole book by tomorrow, but just maybe focusing on step by step, a page at a time, a chapter at a time, break it down into smaller tasks. And I've also found too, going back to the whole being a perfectionist thing, stops people, and that used to stop me a lot as well. But I look at a lot of the work that I've put out and published, even a lot of videos that I've done. I published a lot of videos on YouTube back in 2012 that today, when I look back upon, I'm embarrassed by. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, I just looked stupid back then. I wasn't that confident. My camera sucked. I just had like a little digital camera. I didn't have a tripod. I just had like a stack of books. The sound quality was horrible. When I'm recording those videos, I'm like messing up, and my camera falls over. Like all these embarrassing things. And I look back, and at the time, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to publish this anyways, because even if this helps one person, then it's worthwhile. And sure enough, even my morning ritual video, that's changed so many people's lives. Like I get messages all the time, like every day. People that are like on antidepressants tell me that videos like cured them from depression. People that are suicidal have like told me that's changed their life. And to think about like the power of that, I'm like, wow, like here I don't, I'm not even like that video, the quality sucked and all this sort of stuff, but yet it still helps people and changes their life. And so I've really learned that it was more my issues in my head that was preventing me from publishing these things and getting it out there. It was more my insecurities that this wasn't perfect, this sentence didn't really sound right to me or whatever. But usually, I mean, those are things that are more going on inside your head that the consumer or the listener or the reader might not necessarily care about. So I think there's a little bit overboard that people can go with that. And so what I've often done, even for writing books or whatever, is I'll do the best that I can with it. And I know it's not going to be perfect, but then I'll have someone else go through it, and they probably won't even notice all the little, nuances and all this sort of stuff that I was so anal about. And they're going to probably say it's either good or it's bad, and just going to have other people from an outside perspective go through that. And I've always kind of approached anything I put out to like a book as a draft. Like I'll even sometimes force myself to write it, do the best that I can with it, and then you can just always improve it as time goes on. I can improve the way that it sounds or the sentences and all that. And that's a great thing with Kindle publishing. Like if you're unhappy with a sentence, you can go back in and change it. It takes like 12 hours to update a book. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I've learned with that is, it's really changed my mindset around publishing all forms of content, is that as long as it helps people and people benefit from it, then, you might not think it's perfect or that great, but people benefit from it, then keep it up there.
Yeah, this is a brilliant point. I really want to reiterate this. It's for me, it's like it's about the message, not the medium. And that's why I'm not like only an author. Like I do videos like you, podcast shows, seminars, workshops, public speaking. Like I want to just teach people. Like I have a message I want to share with the world. And I think what happens is when we're being a perfectionist, we're so focused on the medium, on the sentence, on the structure, which is important. But at the end of the day, it's not nearly as important as the message, right? And like you said with your video, I mean, a half-hour long video. I know your morning ritual video is like maybe like a half an hour long. You probably have hundreds of sentences in there, and even if 95% of those sentences were below average or mediocre, it's really just the one idea or the two ideas that people take away from it that change their life, right? I mean, when you watch an hour-long movie or video, you don't remember everything in that video. You remember one or two key ideas, and that's the information that can change people's lives. And as long as you have that information in what you're doing, I think it's quote unquote good enough to get out there. And obviously, you want editors for your books and you want your stuff to be good, but holding back your message from the world because you are so anal and so perfectionist that you're never going to put it out there, it's not only a shame for you, but it's a shame for the people who could have had that message and that inspiration that could have changed their life.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's how I think about it. Is when it's more you're depriving other people the benefit that they can receive, and there's a lot of people that might read your book or consume it or watch your video that don't say anything either. Like I can't, like I don't even know the number, but there's probably a lot of people that watch my videos that read a book that I have, and it's benefited them, could have gone and changed their life, but they just never leave a comment, they never leave a review. Usually, I find Amazon reviews, things like that. People are more motivated to leave reviews if they're really pissed off, if they really don't like something. Usually if something benefits people, not unless it's really life-changing for them, they're not really going to post a comment as much. They might just read a book and watch a video. It could really have helped them, but they're just going to move on with their life. But you have to kind of think about the impact that you can have by certain things. And yeah, that's kind of how I look at a lot of content that I put out. I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is helping people. People are watching it. People are liking it on YouTube, or people are, buying it on Amazon, and the majority of people are saying positive things about it. And as long as you're always going to have, once in a while, someone that's going to be negative or complain or hate on you or whatever it might be. But as long as the overwhelming majority of people benefit from it and like it, then I just ignore that and I just continue doing what I know is best and just kind of sharing my message.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you caught me, man. I mean, I watched your video. I didn't subscribe. I didn't like it or comment or anything like that, but I did use some of your strategies to make my days better. So I think you're totally right on that. That you can be changing people's lives, but they never email you to reach out. They never leave a comment or a review, and you don't know. Like, you have no idea the impact of what your work is having, because all you see is the bad reviews, and then the people that are asking you questions or you're saying you're doing great work. But that's only a small percentage of the population that actually get exposed to your work in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I you just got to know, deep down, and just know that your message is good, and that's what keeps you going. I found that, everyone out there gets criticism. Like the best of the best, top authors, the best books in the world. Everyone out there has the criticism, the negativity, and there's just always a percentage of people that, whatever, they're not going to jive with what you say. They might disagree with it. They might be having a bad day. Their cat might have died that day and they're in a bad state, so they're going to post something negative about your book or whatever it might be. So you got to kind of step away from that and just look at the overall message, what you're trying to communicate, and and just do the best that you can with it. And like I said, always try to improve your work and evolve it over time. And I found that what naturally kind of happens is that as you grow and improve over time, you kind of almost look back at things that you might have published a long time ago, and you just look at it in a different way because, for example, let's say the books that I wrote maybe 2 years ago, I look back and I've evolved myself as a writer today over the last 2 years, and I'm such a better writer, a better communicator, better at doing videos, everything, that when I look back at what I wrote then, I'm like, oh man, that kind of sucks compared to what I can do today. And so you're always going to evolve and improve as a writer, as a publisher, as a video person, a speaker, or whatever it is. And I think that's the most important thing, is just continue evolving and improving yourself. And what you put out and what you're going to publish and your message is just going to be that much more powerful.
Yeah, that's just a great point. And I think it totally goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about, because to overcome perfectionism and to be willing to publish something that's not perfect, I think it really does help to know that you can always come back and change it later. And I think that's one of the reasons I was able to publish so many Kindle books so fast, is because I didn't care if there was a typo. I mean, I wanted to get rid of the typos, but it didn't matter to me. The message was what mattered. And I've gone back, and I've probably, out of my 20-some books I published on Kindle, I've probably made at least 200 or 300 or more edits. Updated what the file, updated the covers, updated the book descriptions, changed them so many times because I knew I could always go back and make it better. And so I think that gave me, number one, the courage to go out there and publish it quickly. But number two, also the ability to go back there and make it better and better and better, because it's far better now for having been out there and had reviews and had feedback from the world, and then being able to change it after that feedback, than if I had just sat in my room by myself and tried to make the perfect book. I don't think that ever would have happened.
Yeah, and the sooner that you get feedback, the better. So like the sooner that you put it out there and publish it, the sooner you're going to get the feedback so that you can improve it, make it better, more based on what your audience wants. Because before you release it, you're more so just kind of thinking what you think that they want and what they're going to experience it. But almost like you've launched websites and all that stuff as well, but you kind of launch it and you maybe have some testers or people that go through it, and then based on their feedback and what they think, then you evolve the book or the product and you just make it better and better over time. So I'm more a believer in that approach, not being a perfectionist from the beginning. I've even done that with Kindle books too, where I might, before I invest all this time, money, energy into a book without even knowing how it's going to sell or how well it's going to do, I might just put something out there that I could sell for $1, 99 cents. And once it sells and it's good, then I'm going to evolve it, make it better and better, and just write out more of this book so that I can market it and promote it even further. Whereas maybe it doesn't do as well, then okay, it's not as much risk involved because I didn't obsess over it and was a perfectionist with it, and I can just kind of go in a different direction on it. So I've always found just kind of testing the waters a little bit and different things has benefited me. And even going back to what you said, I mean, typos and things like that. I mean, if you read, if you think of the best books that you've read that have really changed your life, if there was like a misprint or a typo in that book, is that going to defer from the benefit you got from that book? No, you're still going to say it was a great book. So I think people obsess a little bit over those things. Like I've had misprints and typos, and I've even read some of these best-selling books that have misprints and typos in it. It's a little bit harder to go back if it's a paperback book and everything, but if you publish it out there and you get a negative feedback or review, or someone says there's a typo or a misprint, then again, you just go back in and you change it and you just move on with it. But as long as the overall message is good and powerful and it benefits people, then people will overlook all those little things. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think one of the things I see out there in the writer community is there's these people who are trying to be like the grammar Nazis or the editing police, and they want to tell you have to have the $10,000 New York editor edit your book, and it has to be totally perfect. There can't possibly be a typo. There can't possibly be a grammatical mistake. You have to have everything perfect before you publish your first book. And I think that kind of mentality stops so much creative. So many creative people from really achieving what they could achieve. Look at 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, people say, oh, it's an overnight success, but no, she published that book years before under a different title with a different cover, and it didn't do well. But she kept redoing it, reworking it, and then relaunched it and sold, I don't know, 60 million, 100 million books now, some ridiculous number, right? But if she had never, if she had waited until she had it perfect, she would never have had anywhere near that kind of success. It took the feedback from the community. It took the whole community to make that book what it became. And you can't have a community sitting in your room by yourself trying to write a perfect book.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just constant, never-ending improvement. I mean, I think that's the difference of people that are truly successful and the people that just kind of dabble. The people that dabble, that might publish something or do something or attempt something, and then it's not perfect, or they fail, or they get some negative criticism, and they get discouraged and they give up. And the people that I've seen that are most successful, they just use that as feedback. There's no failure, only feedback, and they just improve, and they just get better and better. They know what their outcome is. They keep making progress towards that, and I think as long as you have that mentality, you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's powerful. Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's the focus on improvement. You don't have to get it perfect today. Just keep trying to get better. So, I mean, how do you do that, though, and how do you apply that in your life? I mean, obviously, you've got so many products now and so many books and so many programs and blog posts and YouTube videos. You can't go back and fix everything. So what do you focus on when you say, hey, I want to really improve what I've created out there? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I like to, one is, if there's any glaring concerns, criticism, feedback, or whatever that comes up for any product, anything that I have, I'm very quick to address it. So if there's if it's let's say a Kindle book, whatever, if there's a negative review that comes up or whatever it is, I want to address that as quickly as possible, because I know if I don't, and that mistake or that error still remains in that book, then it's just going to accumulate more negative reviews, right? So you want to address and just kind of nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. The only way I really know, and kind of my barometer of kind of looking at what needs improvement or needs to be better is based on the feedback from other people. They're going to tell you what they want. They're going to tell you what the problems are, what the challenges are, and so I just try to listen to them. And so in the case of Kindle books, I'll look at negative reviews, or I might proactively survey people and ask them what they think. So if I'm going to launch something, I might send out a survey to the people that might have bought it, or during the beta launch or whatever it might be. Excuse me. I might send out a survey to them and just ask them, what did you think? What do you think can be made better? And I've done that with my K Money Mastery course. I've sent out surveys, just kind of finding out the results, the experience that people have had, how much money they're making, what are their challenges, why did they follow through on the program, and just trying to identify the challenges so that I can increase the success rate of that. Because I know that the more people that enjoy my content, that benefit from it, receive value from it, the more it's going to benefit me as well. The more they're going to develop a deeper relationship with me, the more they're going to trust me more, the more they're going to buy more stuff from me. So same thing as an author. If you've got a great book and people benefit from it, they're going to buy the next book that you put out. They're going to subscribe to your email list. They're going to like your Facebook page and just become a fan and follower of what you have to say. So I found even just by the act of reaching out to people and asking for their voice or their opinion, they really appreciate that as well. They feel like you actually care and they can actually be heard, and that you're committed and you have their interests above your own. So I found that just by surveying people and asking them, hey, what can I do to make this better? And having that mentality has been really important just for making things better over a period of time.
That's awesome. I'm really glad you shared that. And I think some people might view that as, oh, that's weakness. Stefan doesn't know how the product needs to be perfect. But the truth is, for me, that's a sign of huge strength, because you're willing to admit that the product isn't about you. The book is not about you. It's about your readers and your audience and how you can help them get what they want. And when you're totally focused on your audience and your customers and what they want and how you can help them, it's not even about you. It's like you're just helping them get what they want. And I think that's just so powerful. It's just a powerful way to live. It's a powerful way to do business. And it's not about being perfect. It's about that conversation, that dialogue between you and your customers.
Yeah, and I think there's one thing I've learned is that if you just make your focus on adding more value to other people than anyone else, then you'll have no worries. You'll have the success. You'll have everything that you want. There's a great saying, I think, by Zig Ziglar, that if you help enough people get what they want, then you can have what you want. So the more that you focus on adding value and even over-delivering, that's one thing I love doing. I over-deliver. I give people more than what they expected. And when you do that, and people love you and they receive benefit and value, they're going to overlook all the little typos or all those little things because they've just received so much value from you and benefit. And I think that's been key. Is just, I'm not saying to publish crap or put crappy videos out there and expect to have success. Your content has to be good. It has to be amazing, because that's the only way people are going to like it, share it, comment on it, subscribe to it, and you're going to have long-term success in anything that you do. So if you make that your mentality of just putting the customer first, putting their needs above your own, and you just focus on just giving them what they want and more than what they want, then you're going to have a raving fan. And you're going to attract just so much higher quality, better customers that aren't going to give you the challenges that the other kind of people do. So it's all about attracting the right customers and the raving fans, the people that are going to love you and support you. And I found that by having that mentality too, when you add value, you really make a difference in people, they will be your biggest defenders. If anybody says something bad about your book or whatever it is, they're going to be the first ones to comment. They're going to be the first ones to defend you and stick up for you. So I find that's just going to be my mentality, and that's what's worked best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said is just awesome. I think you just pointed out another big flaw with this kind of perfectionist mindset, which is that if you think your book is perfect when you publish it, you won't be willing to change. You won't be willing to ask your audience how you can improve it. You won't be willing to read that one-star review and actually take it non-judgmentally and take it objectively to see how you can improve your work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and Another great thing though too is even if someone leaves a bad comment or whatever, you can always comment on it as well, right? Like a bad review, you can comment on it and say thank you so much for the feedback. I want to let you know we've improved the book based on what you suggested and everything. And again, like you can even sometimes turn the negative things into a positive as well, because when people see that negative comment, the negative review, but then they see your comment to it, what you've said, and that you actually care, you've improved it, it's better because of that, then I think, as a customer, you're attracting the right kind of people as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's all about focusing on the customer and being humble and admitting you don't know everything, you don't have to know everything, but your goal here is just to help your customer get as much as they want, as much as they need.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stefan. You shared just a wealth of wisdom with us today, and I really appreciate it. Before you go, tell us where people can find out more info about you and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a self-development blog, YouTube channel. Also share a little bit about how I make money online. It's called projectlifemastery.com. So projectlifemastery.com, and you can check me out there. Subscribe. I've got a great life mastery toolkit where I share some of the ways that I make money online and a little bit more my morning ritual, all that sort of stuff on there as well. But yeah, just check out my blog, and you'll learn more about me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan.
All right. Thanks, Tom.